Hello and welcome to the podcast of champions. I'm your host Grandmaster, and a week ago, Marvel Studios took the stage at All Age at San Diego Comic Con to talk about the future of the MCU. We have been asking, well, let me rephrase that, screaming for some kind of sense of direction for this franchise. And today, we're going to talk about if we got what we wanted. And I'm not going to do that alone, so let me introduce the other champions in the arena today. First up, showing his beautiful face on camera, we have Merv. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Uh, we have the original champion, Taylor, first. How are you, man?
Excellent, thank you.
And last but certainly not least, voice only, we have Loki's mom. How are you?
Not Fantastic Four, but Fantastic Two.
Oh, great. Um, like I said before, Marvel Studios got on stage, and usually they get people very excited. Was that the case last week? We got panels for Captain America, Brave New World, The Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, First Steps, and a new title for the fifth Avengers film called now Avengers Doomsday. And release dates for that movie and the sixth Avengers movie called Avengers Secret Wars. Was the event satisfying enough? And let me start with you, Taylor. We had high hopes, or at least great expectations, or at least great needs for this event. We got some panels. We got a little bit of a timeline. What did you think of the event we got last week?
Uh, did not meet all of my expectations.
Okay.
There's some good. There was some good and some bad came out of it. I thought the early panels, the panels about the next three movies, Captain America, Thunderbolts, and Fantastic Four, I thought they were really pretty blah. You know, they brought the cast out. They had some guy there read questions. The questions were kind of lame, stupid, frankly, some of them, and the actors weren't prepared to answer them. And I thought it was actually kind of boring at first. Then, of course, they did the announcement about the Russos coming back to direct the next two Avengers movies, which is great. I'm 100% in favor of that. And of course, the big reveal of Robert Downey Jr. playing Doctor Doom, which is, that's huge, and I'm all in favor of it. But they didn't give us, a lot of information about it. Now, obviously, I'm not talking about plots, but I'm just, the internet exploded, of course, and immediately started arguing about what form this is going to take, whether this is a variant of Tony Stark, or he's playing another character, or he's a Doom from a different universe who looks like blah, 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 blah. They could answer that. They could stop all of that immediately, but they don't want to because they want people talking on the internet. And I find that very frustrating because I would just want Kevin Feige or one of the Russos or Downey to go on Twitter and say it's a variant of Tony Stark or it's not a variant of Tony Stark, and then move on. Then we can move on from there. I mean, it could be done either way. What gets me is people always saying, well, if it's not a variant of Tony Stark, how are they going to explain that he looks like Tony Stark? Well, Dr. Doom doesn't have a face, so he's not going to look like Tony Stark. If they wanted to go that route, he wouldn't have to look at all like Tony Stark. But regardless, I'm starting to spin here. He's a great actor, and he's going to do a fantastic job. I have no issues with that. I don't think it's desperate or any of that nonsense. I think it's a smart move, frankly, for on all levels, on his ability to do the role and on his ability to bring in the audience. So.
Yeah, but look, we were complaining there's not enough connectivity in the MCU at the moment, and we don't know where it's going, especially after the Jonathan Majors episode. Do you feel like they are addressing this within Marvel Studios and within the MCU, or is it like, you know, I still don't know what they're gonna do and where they're going, and
I don't think they addressed that very well. And here, I mean, first of all, there's a whole bunch of projects out there that have been announced that they didn't even mention at all, where they fit into the order of release and things, both TV stuff and other movies, Armor Wars and so on. There's still a date on the calendar, I think November for Blade, next November, for Blade. but they didn't say anything about it. They didn't say anything about Daredevil, which is supposed to be coming out early next year. They announced all of, I mean, whatever. There's cartoons or whatever, Spider-Man freshman year or whatever that they mentioned a couple of years ago and haven't said a word since, I don't think. Agatha, of course, is coming up in a couple of months. They didn't talk about that. So anyway, Marvel's big night really for this Comic-Con was a Thursday night, the first night when it was all Deadpool and Wolverine, and they did a great job there. And the drone light show that they did that night was spectacular. It was really incredible. So they did a great job with that. But then the Saturday panels, I said, other than we know it's going to be Doctor Doom now, we know they've changed it to Doomsday. We have dates for those next 2 Avengers movies. That's all. I mean, Shang-Chi, Eternals, Doctor Strange, what's happening with all of those end credit scenes that they've left dangling out there? Didn't give us much clarity on those, so I was a little bit disappointed.
Yeah, I think they will say the TV stuff for D23, which is also coming up, of course. So, but they have to keep something for that. But yeah, it's still a bit in the dark, if I may say so. But Merv, what did you make of all the things happening in the panel?
For the most part, I thought it was fine. I have to agree with Taylor. I think there's really 2 big nuggets of information that they revealed, which is one, that they're renaming Avengers whatever to Doomsday 5. I lost track. And then 2, that Robert Downey Jr. is playing the character Doom, which was obviously the big mic drop moment of the night, just to, and it's doing exactly what they wanted it to do. It's creating buzz and it's creating interest, and there's kind of already 2 sides of the fence, which is not what I like to see being, we live through the DCU. We don't need to see a civil war between, Robert Downey Jr. is great, but I don't want him to be Doom because he's Iron Man already. We don't really need that kind of clashing within the fan base at this point. We kind of, I don't like that I already saw it, but, as far as all the stuff, like, they didn't really tell us anything we didn't already know. It was just a lot of seeing the cast and having them talk a little bit. And I like a lot of the energy of the cast, especially like Anthony Mackie is super energetic and fun to watch, just in person, outside of character. And then I really like all the Thunderbolt cast, pretty much all the Thunderbolt cast. I like Florence Pugh. I like the guy playing Winter Soldier, and I love David Harbour. Sebastian Stan, sorry, I drew a blank on his name. But it was nothing new. It's just like, oh, hey, remember these things are coming. Okay, cool. That's great. I will say the Fantastic Four cast has really grown on me over the last month or so. I don't really know much about some of the actors in it, other than the main guy, the Mandalorian. But
Pedro Pascal.
Yes, Pedro Pascal. But I really like, just their general sense of chemistry together, I guess, at this point. Just seeing them together, it's growing on me quite a bit, just aesthetically. I don't know. But yeah, those 2 big nuggets aside, I think it was kind of just basically a trailer for things we already knew was coming. So it was fine, but it wasn't like, I don't know that it necessarily gets everything excited for. You're really excited about the Doom announcement. Other than that, there's not much else to talk about new anyway.
Yeah. So if I listened to you correctly, it was a kind of bleak event.
I don't know if bleak is the right word. I just think it was if people were looking for this to be the big announce haven that's gonna really project what direction the studio is going in for sure, I don't think it was that. Which it would be nice to see. It'd be nice to see, if you remember back to the 2014 Comic-Cons and stuff like that, it was they actually just parodied it in The Boys, where it's just a tree of this is coming and this is coming and this is coming and this is coming. And this came nowhere close to that level of excitement, seeing, stuff like Black Panther 4 years from now, that sort of thing. But for what this is, especially with their transitional period that they're in right now, which I like a lot of their transitional moves. On the surface, obviously, we have to see the finished product before we know for sure whether they actually made right decisions behind the scenes. But a lot of the aesthetics around their moves I've enjoyed, and maybe keeping everything a little bit close to the chest right now, even though it frustrates us as a fans, is maybe better for them as a company. That way they can pivot if they need to away from certain things in the next couple of months. I don't know. I'm just playing devil's advocate. Really, I just I just think it was like a trailer for the next 3 movies, and then after that, it's like, well, you have no idea what's going to be happening. So,
Yeah. Okay, we'll talk about the future of the MCU later. Lokismom, what did you make of all what was happening last week? Was the event satisfying for you?
Well, actually, I have to confess, I didn't really pay any attention to the Comic-Con, and I looked at a couple of articles come out, particularly the Robert Downey Jr. announcement, that just kind of like kapow. So I'm just going to play off what Taylor and Merv have already talked about. Yeah, I think just going by what y'all said, because they left a lot of this stuff out. That okay, what about these other characters? And Blade, I think in particular, I think we know that's coming. And he just didn't get mentioned, but I think what they may have done here was concentrated on the central saga going forward, rather than some of these other outlying movies that probably they haven't really figured out yet. So I think what they have done in the past is they have announced too much, put too much out there, and then when it doesn't come to fruition, or somebody dies, or somebody gets arrested, and they have to go back to the writer's room and change everything and start pulling all the notes and things off all those boards and one of those storyboards and rearranging it. So I think, like you say, so we've got the Thunderbolts, which I think Fantastic Four, and then I think these will lead into the 2 final movies of of whatever we're going to call it, the saga at this point, which I didn't realize they had changed it to Doomsday. What was it originally, Taylor?
The Kang Dynasty.
The Kang Dynasty. Okay, so obviously they had to get rid of Kang, and they're bringing in Doomsday, so that makes sense to sort of replace it. Yeah, so I think that's what they really concentrated on, and apparently Downey's going to be a central part of that. However they do Doctor Doom, I think it's intriguing. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with it. I mean, I'm not, so what? He was Tony Stark. I'm okay with him playing another character. I have no problems with that. So yeah, it looks to me like they kind of kept it to business. They didn't want to overextend themselves like they have in the past. As far as whatever went on, the panels and whatnot, that's all. Like, we'll forget that next week anyway. So
Yeah.
well, that doesn't matter. But yeah, overall, very excited. I'm very excited about the Fantastic Four. That was always one of my favorite comics back in the day, and the movies that they put out have just really not done it. I mean, they've okay. I mean, the last one was kind of okay, and then there's the famous fiasco that never saw the light of day from Roger Corman. It's just like, well, they need a success now. They need a redemption story. They need to be the top ones now, and hopefully they'll come out as the next, like the Avengers were with that crew of actors and characters. I think this is what's going forward. I think Pedro Pascal absolutely bringing back some of the older characters with Bucky and the Falcon and these folks. Thunderbolt, of course, that's fascinated by how that's going to turn out, and the Red Hulk and all those new characters. So I think overall I get a very positive vibe from it, just from what I've heard you guys say and what I've read.
Okay. Well, moving on to our second topic. We got a major reveal, as mentioned before. Robert Downey Jr. returns to the MCU. Not as Tony Stark, no, he will be playing Doctor Doom. Like the man said, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Well, Downey is doing both. How do you feel about this? Is this a studio desperate to recapture the magic and going back to things that worked in the past? Merv? is Marvel Studios desperate? They didn't really mention it in last week. That I always like it when companies or people say, I think we didn't do so well the last few years, and so we're switching things around. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. But it feels like it. They want to recapture the magic.
Is Martin Scorsese desperate for always using Robert De Niro? You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of the same gist. It's like you have a character with an actor who really looked excited to play the character, who we all know has the chops to play the character, and I'm excited to see it. I'm what Taylor said earlier. It'd be nice to know, is this Stark variant 6001, or is this actually like just a Victor Von Doom totally new character that has no relation outside of general appearance, which we've already seen with the in the Deadpool and Wolverine movie, two characters who look slightly similar but are very distinctly different characters. It's I think it would be really selling the audience short if they couldn't couldn't see Victor Von Doom in this as opposed to Tony Stark. It's like, I just can't see him as anything else. Well, use your imagination. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's all fake. So just imagine that it's not. Assuming it doesn't act just like Tony Stark, because.
Well, that actually was going to be my question. Aren't you afraid that Robert Downey Jr. will Tony Stark Victor Von Doom?
I mean, I guess that comes down to Rob Downey Jr.'s interpretation of the character as well as the direction of the character and everything combined. Until we know whether or not it's actually a Tony Stark variant, I think it's going to be hard to say. If they go the whole separate route and have no hints towards this being a Stark variant, but yet the character still feels like Tony Stark, I think it will be kind of a little bit of a failure on their part. But that all depends on how entertaining it is. If it's all entertaining and I'm enjoying the hell out of it, then none of this stuff even matters by that point. But I'm excited about it. I think I'm really excited to see. I think it did exactly what they wanted to, which was, you pick one of the most infamous characters from Marvel Comics, and you took an actor who has a built-in fan base within your own audience already, to play the role. I think a lot of us, I'm thinking, are just really intrigued to see what's going to come out of this, and whether or not it winds up being just a kind of a flash in the pan of interest, or if it's something that is a really good step moving forward for long-term MCU projects. I mean, that all depends on the final product, I think. As of right now, it's way too early to say for sure whether it's going to be one or the other. But I'm really hoping it's a little bit of both.
A little bit of both, to quote Peter Quill. Lokismom, I know you're a big advocate for the return of Robert Downey Jr. to the MCU as Victor Von Doom, Doctor Doom. Mm-hmm. But do you also see where I am coming from? That I'm feeling like, hey, they feel like they've lost it, and so they're trying to bring back what they had in the hope that to get it back, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Well, the reason I got into Marvel, the MCU movies, was Robert Downey Jr. I went to see the Iron Man movie because he was in it, not because it was a Marvel movie or about a Marvel character. At that point in his career, he was just really kind of pulling himself out of the depths of, he had been in prison and really had screwed his own life up. He'd done it to himself, but he managed to pull himself up out of it and get back into the game and work his way all the way back up to the top and beyond. So yeah, to see Robert Downey Jr. coming back, I see what they're probably trying to get is that magic I felt and so many other moviegoers felt when they saw him, particularly in that near the beginning of the film where he spreads his arms out and there's that huge explosion behind him and he's like, I'm back. And buddy, was he back? And if they could recapture that, how wonderful that would be. I don't think they will. I think that's what they're going for. As far as, Yeah, I see where you're coming from because Grandmaster, because we've done Robert Downey Jr. We've done that character. We've done Tony Stark. Why bring him back? So there's some danger there. It could fall flat. I'm going to trust Downey's talents, his acting talents. Kevin Feige, I'm going to trust him on this, and just let them do it. And I will criticize it if it falls flat. But right now, I'm not going to naysay it.
Okay, that's fair. Taylor, what do you make of the return of the Downey?
Yeah, I'm 100% for it. Okay, he's a great actor. He just won an Oscar for Oppenheimer. And when you win an Oscar, you have your pick of projects to do. And he chose this one for a long-term project. So, and I don't think it's just the money, even though they are giving him truckloads of money for this. But I think he's excited. I think he's excited for the role, and I'm glad. Like I said, I think he'll do a great job. I hate all the arguing about how they're going to do it, and I hate the fact that they want that arguing to happen. They're doing it on purpose. They're cynical about it. I hate that. But my personal preference is that he's a completely different character. He's Victor Von Doom from Latveria here on Earth 616. That would be my perfect world, would be to do it that way. Peter Sellers played 3 distinct characters in Doctor Strangelove, and I can give a whole bunch of other examples of actors playing different characters in the same movies and franchises. It's not an issue for
the
me.
MCU has Gemma Chan, who played 2 roles.
Yes, Gemma Chan has played 2 main characters. Yep.
In one in Captain Marvel and one in Eternals. So it's not like they haven't done it before.
Yeah, it's not like it's unheard of. And again, Tarantino does it all the time. He has the same people playing several characters in the same movie.
And don't get me started on Nathan Fillion, who was like in every Guardians of the Galaxy movie, except he got cut in one of them. But
yeah. The reason I prefer it to be that way is, and this goes even to like the Fantastic Four, with they're coming from a different universe, I believe, in this thing. And if the plan is to bring them into Earth 616 and make them part of the main MCU, problem I have with that, which is part of my problem with the whole multiverse, is I can't relate to these people because I don't know their point of reference. I don't know this universe they came from. Where did they have a World War II in their universe? I don't know. Do they have Star Trek in their universe? I don't know. So I don't know where they're coming from, what their baseline is. So that makes me nervous when they start bringing in. We can just replace this character with one from another universe. Well, no, he's from a completely different universe, so we don't know if he is the same as we are. What's in common and what's not in common? They're like aliens, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So if I would prefer if Dr. Doom is not from another universe, is all I'm saying there. I'd prefer he is Victor Von Doom from good old Earth 616. But yeah, as far as Robert Downey Jr. goes, I don't think it's a desperation move. I mean, you can whatever. Who knows what's in somebody's head? Is Kevin Feige desperate? I don't know. Deadpool and Wolverine is about to cross $800 million today, I believe, is what they said at the box office.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't feel all that desperate about where things are going. And they've had a lot of success in phases 4 and 5. There's been a couple of real stumbles, and they have had a problem with bringing it all together. There's no doubt about that. But it hasn't been like a disaster. We're not looking at like DCEU level total collapse here by any stretch of the imagination. They're still very successful at this point in time. I just wish they would tell us a little bit more about what's going on with all the other stuff. And I understand that they're focused now. They keep saying we're focusing on quality over quantity, which is fine. I'm all for that. But they've still got a lot of stuff that they've announced that they haven't said they're canceling them. So give us a little bit idea of when we're going to see them or how it's going to relate to the other stuff that's going on. Because obviously there's going to be movies in between Doomsday and Secret Wars. There's a whole year there. I'm pretty sure they're not going to go another whole year. And then what is it? 2025 has 3 movies, I think, 3 or 4. Yeah, I guess if Blade happens, which is pretty iffy, then it's 4 in 2025, I think.
I don't think they have a director. I don't think they have a writer. And it's supposed to be coming out like 15 months from now. So I don't see that happening. Blade in November 2025. So no, maybe
probably not.
No.
Probably not.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't think it's a desperation move at all. I think it's actually a very smart move.
Okay.
Yes, they are making adjustments, and I'm glad they're making adjustments. Just like Merv said, a lot of the changes that they seem to be making sound good. Hopefully, they'll pan out,
Mhm.
work out for them as planned. But a lot of those changes they seem to be making, or they said we hear about in the press, sounds like good
Mhm.
ideas to me. And I'm glad that they're not just either giving up altogether or just brain dead driving on with what they planned 4 years ago.
Yeah,
And
or
that
reboot
they're
it,
willing to make adjustments.
or just reboot it.
Right.
That's also a possibility. Murph, you had a follow-up.
Yeah, just a quick thought, regarding Doom's familiar appearance to Tony Stark. We all know Howard Stark traveled the world quite extensively, was a bit of a ladies' man, maybe planted some seeds in Latveria, and bada boom, bada bing, and this is what happens whenever you abandon your child in a third world country.
Yeah.
Uh,
I could see him dating Miss Latveria of 1960.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think Marvel Studios will use the fact that Robert Downey Jr. has played Tony Stark and is gonna play Victor Von Doom, like in a movie like they are the Avengers are like shocked that it's like Tony Stark or something like that, or even bring in Tom Cruise as Iron Man from another universe to mix things really up. Do you think that's gonna happen? Just a side question.
It's hard. I just, outside of like the Deadpool style of comedy, I don't know that they'd want to make those kinds of jabs, I guess.
Okay. Mhm. So no fourth wall breaking and stuff like that. No. Okay.
Hopefully
Well,
none of that.
Well, there's a lot of other things they need to do first. Anyway, we need to see Jessica Alba, Nicolas Cage, Dolph Lundgren, David Hasselhoff as Nick Fury. We need to bring back all of them, and of course Ben Affleck. We need to bring back all of them before we bring Tom Cruise in.
yeah.
I think Robert Downey, he's going to be playing Buddy Stark.
Okay. Okay. Our third and final topic is the big question. How do we see the future of the MCU? Did they ditch the Kang character and are they going to go full Doom? Did the event last week restore your faith, or was it not needed, or was it not enough for you to have the faith back in Marvel Studios and the MCU? Lokismom, I'm going to start with you this time.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you can go ahead.
Okay. Well, Taylor just mentioned that Deadpool Wolverine is just going to cross over to 800 million. Looks like they're heading toward $1 billion. Money talks. I think the future of the MCU, I don't think it's not going anywhere. It's how many movies have they made up to this point? Like
Yeah,
30
but
some?
certainly. But to me, it's more a question of like um, we had like a multiverse saga going on, or we have a multiverse saga going on. Kang was the big bad. They announced like thousands and thousands of Kang variants in an arena, trying to attack the Avengers. They fired Jonathan Majors. We don't hear anything about a recast. Now they rename the movie to Doomsday. So they are switching things up, but
they're making lemonades out of lemons. This is Hollywood. This is magic. That's what they're supposed to do out there. Come on, get the creative juices going. I think if they get the right attitude about it, and get back to their ethos, get back to where they were. Just have some, go to Esalen Center or something and have some Om sessions and try to contact Stan Lee and get back to where they were in the aughts with Iron Man and Thor and all those great movies, and right up to the final two films, the Endgame films. Yeah, I think it can do it. It's just a matter of getting everything back on track. I mean, just going by what everything I've heard right now, I think that maybe is what they're doing. I think they're trying to, certainly with Deadpool and Wolverine, we got back to, while it was way out of left field as far as the vulgarity and violence and all that, that hadn't been a part of the MCU. even so, the character, it kind of got back to that characterization, the more um I don't know what you call it. I don't want to call it woke, but I think they were doing a lot of experimental casting, whatever. Let's just call it that. Make it delicate. I think a lot of the fans didn't appreciate that, and I think maybe they're bringing in some of that, eliminating some of that, but maybe not all of it, but maybe making it a little bit more satisfactory for the fans. Let's put it that way.
Hmm. So you never lost faith, and you still have faith, basically, when it comes to the MCU.
Yeah. I mean, come on. How long's Marvel itself been around? Since what, the 40s or early 50s, and everything, all the changes they've gone through, and the risks that Stan Lee took when he wanted to update it and make it more relevant to what was actually going on, and not just make the same old comic book over and over and over again, and get into what was so wonderful about these characters, more so than a lot of the other superhero movies, was because they focused on the characters. We didn't. It wasn't their superpowers that we it was them. It was the characters themselves we come to love and come to look forward to seeing each, in the movies and whatnot. I think that's what they're trying to do, bringing back Downey, is to bring that love back, that feeling that these people are just like us, and they're not these superhero things who are gods who can do whatever they want. They have these problems and everything, and they're trying to get on with their lives and whatnot. And and they fail at lots of times. Their superpowers fail them and cause more problems. And so I think if they get back to that, I think that's the audiences will certainly appreciate it.
Mhm. Taylor, so would you have a problem if they just never mention Kang again? Because, like we said, I think last week, in Quantum Mania and in Loki season 2, basically they defeated Kang. The only thing is they have that after credit scene where they have like a few thousand Kang variants, but we have seen after credit scenes before which lead to nothing. So is that really a problem?
No, I don't think it'll be a problem. I think maybe sometime in the future they might bring Kang back in some way, shape, or form. But even if they never mention him again, I don't think it's a problem for the reasons you just said. They've established a reason why he's not around anymore. The TVA is focusing on preventing him from causing trouble, and Loki is there doing his thing. And the one I guess the one that was in Earth 616 Quantum Realm got killed by Ant-Man and the Wasp. And again, I think they did a good job of establishing a situation where we don't have to do Kang anymore. And it's unfortunate because, he was a great actor and it was a cool character. But like we said, things change, bad stuff happens, and you have to adjust. I think I'm pretty confident that they have a plan in place. They're not telling us everything yet, which is probably
Yeah.
actually smart, and to some degree, probably smart. Like Loki's mom said, you don't want to get too far ahead of yourselves. But I'm pretty confident now that they're writing this ship. They have a good plan. Now, a lot of people said, including like Feige, even hinted at it that Deadpool and Wolverine is going to set up the future of the MCU. Well, no, it really didn't. There was almost nothing about the future of the MCU in
Well,
Deadpool
in a
and
way,
Wolverine.
like we discussed last week, they mentioned that, well, let's just call it quits on the multiverse stuff. It wasn't that great either.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
wasn't it like Marvel Studios saying this?
But
Yeah,
yeah,
I
but the
don't.
multiverse. I mean, the multiverse is still going to be around for a while. They can't just shut it off, unfortunately. But they were right in saying, making that joke that they need to change what they're doing and make some adjustments along the way. But other than that, other than the TVA was involved and he saw some stuff on the screen and he had a scene with Happy Hogan in Earth 616. Other than that, the entire movie was about closing out the Fox verse
Yeah,
and the other non X-Men Fox
yeah.
Studios stuff. And it did a really good job of doing that, actually closing it out, giving some closure to all those characters, some respect to all those
Maybe
characters and things. But
maybe the
nothing really
setup
set up
for the
for the future.
well, maybe the
Sorry.
X-Men.
Well, maybe. I mean, it didn't bring X-Men into Earth 616 in that movie. I mean, maybe
No.
someday it will. But
Mhm.
you know, we're going to see X-Men in the MCU some point. There's no doubt about that. But there was very few hints as far as the future of the MCU from Deadpool and Wolverine, in my opinion. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Like I said, I think they have a plan. They're just not sharing all the details with us at this point. They're probably still working out a lot of the details as we speak.
Mhm.
So I'm glad they're not going to announce stuff. Hopefully this is what they're doing. Hopefully they're not announcing anything until they're 100% or 95% sure that it's going to happen the way they plan. And that's probably for the best. But overall, I think they're doing a good job. I think they're going to slow down a little bit on how many movies and how many TV shows they release, per year and so on. And I think that's a good idea too. So I now I'm, the question was, are we hopeful? Yes, I'm hopeful. I think the MCU is in a better place now than it was, a year and a half,
Before.
2 years ago.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can see where you're going. Before I go to you, Merv, Loki's mom had a follow-up.
Yeah, you mentioned doing away with the multiverse, I think, or the sacred timelines or whatever. I'm not sure if the multiverse and the sacred timelines are the same thing, but I think they are. Yeah, I think doing away with them, I don't think they can. It's kind of like back in the 60s when they would have a character. They can't do it like they did when they would have characters on a TV show. An actor wanted to move on, so Bud went to college, and we never hear from Bud again throughout the series. I think it happened in Happy Days or whatever. But they can't really just do away with it. But what they can do with it is use it when necessary, because it's a great way of bringing. If they do need to, for whatever reason, just as a fun cameo or whatever, they can have somebody. They can pull somebody from another verse. They can pull an X-Men or somebody else that we haven't even heard of, yet, and from the MCU. So I think they can sort of like a little hat that they can pull some cards out of or whatever, or cards up their sleeve maybe. So yeah, I've been a fan of the multiverse, whatnot. So that's, and I'm Loki's MOM, multiverse of madness. That's what that really stands for, not Loki's mom. But although I am Loki's mom also, but yeah, I'm a big fan of the multiverse, so I don't want to see it go away.
Okay. Merv, the future of the MCU. How do you feel about it after last week's event?
Well, so just starting with Kang, I don't think the door to Kang is closed completely, but I would be very surprised if we saw anything regarding Kang in the next several years. I just think they've moved from Kang to Doom for better or worse, and that's where we're going to be, barring anything horrible happening that's going to change their direction again, which would be very unfortunate for them and for us as fans, I think. But overall, I've already mentioned it, but the general sense of moves that they've been appearing to make behind the scenes, which will or will not be confirmed in a couple of years once we see the end result of some of these products and the actual direction of these films and TV shows, I guess. It all seems on surface to be good moves to me. It seems like they're moving in the right direction. I think, bare bones, the inclusion of an Avengers movie during any of these phases that they're going through is a necessity. I think that was clearly what was lacking from like phases 4 to the first couple of 5, I think. Because I don't know how you guys felt, but I felt like we were always looking for almost that Avengers level film, whether it be Multiverse of Madness or Ant-Man Quantumania. It was like, oh, this is going to be the one that really focuses everything, brings in the character, and really like guides the MCU forward. This is going to be our foundation. Nope. Okay, maybe it's going to be this one. Not really. Okay, maybe it's going to be, and I feel like we've just been waiting for that. Which direction are we headed in? Because the phase 4 kind of spread us in all kinds of different directions, which is fine for a while, but it doesn't give you that sense of continuity that you really grew accustomed to through the first 3 phases of the MCU for 12 years or however long it was, 10 years, whatever. So I think that's really what people are itching for, is like, I want to feel that continuity again. I want to feel that this leads to this, all these events matter, that sort of thing. This isn't just an isolated film over here, because that's what we had before the MCU. And I mean, that's essentially what all those Fox films were. They were just isolated superhero movies that didn't really dip into each other that much at all. And that's kind of how we felt in Phase 4. I felt like there were obviously a couple of ties, more than those Fox films, but less than, I'd say, Phases 1 through 3. And I get the sense that they're going back towards that, but again, I just think we won't know for sure until we see some of the final products. Probably Avengers Doomsday is going to be the film that lets us know whether or not they've actually committed to getting back to the way that things were, for lack of a better word. And I'm not saying, like, I'm with you guys. I think Phase 4 and 5, all these movies that I've just brought up, I've enjoyed, almost everything out of the last couple of years of Marvel. But there is a sense of directionless. It's just kind of, these are cool stories all over the place, and it really, honestly, it mirrors a little bit of the way the comics actually are. Like, if you read the comics, you might read a 6-issue limited miniseries that features a really cool character that, and gets involved with Spider-Man, blah, blah, blah. And you might, once that limited series is done, you may not see that character again for 10 actual years in comics, because the writers just don't want to use them. You know what I mean? And they go off to the side, and you have no idea as a comic reader where they are, what they're up to. And then maybe, years down the road, there's like a battle, and you see this character again, and you're like, oh, that was so-and-so from, 10 years ago, actual time. So not saying I wanted to mimic that, but that's almost the sense that I get here, is like, I don't really have too much. Maybe that prepped me, I guess, is a better way to put it, for being able to shrug off stuff like the Kang situation, or whatever else. Let's not forget that they've already kind of done this, not done this, but characters like Ultron, who I would love to see come back. It's a main villain in Marvel Comics, and he's been in one movie, in 15 years. And it's just like, I would like to see that character back. In the comics, he shows up all the time, but in the MCU, he showed up once. And I think, regarding Kang, I don't think he got off to the best start that other villains did. I thought he was fine, but I don't think it really resonated as well. And I'm thinking that they're just like, okay, well, let's see if Doom, especially with this casting, can be a better lightning rod for fan entertainment. And we'll just wait and see.
Yeah. So we have discussed this before on our channel. Our main problem was a lack of connectivity between these projects, why it all felt disjointed. That's why we didn't have a sense of direction. Now you guys think they will go back to that, bring us that connectivity, and fix the problems they have. Will you be disappointed if we don't start to see soon characters showing up in each other's projects? So we, or can we wait until Avengers 5? Merv.
I think I would really like to see, and I think we're already kind of built towards that with stuff like Thunderbolts, which is clearly going to bring several characters who weren't together for at least a movie. But it would be really nice if, like, some of the storyline threads started to interweave somehow, some way, leading into, Avengers Doomsday. It'd be really nice to get, like, glimpses of that. And I fully expect to see a bit of that with the Fantastic Four movie at the very least. But it would be really nice if there were something that we were able to, just a little. It doesn't have to be a thing, just like a post-credit scene or a mid-credit scene or something like that. That's just like, oh, so this is where we're going with this, and maybe they bring something in that I wasn't expecting to actually link to it, that's from a previous film, so that we can have even more connective tissue there. Yeah, I do. I mean, I would think it would be disappointing if we went into Avengers Doomsday without having any kind of a lead in or build up to that. I do think that would be the wrong foot to put forward.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we will just have to wait and see if Marvel does it that way or they fix it another way. But can I summarize this? Like we have hope for the future, and we need to see if that hopes turns out to become real, if you know what I mean, comes true.
Yep.
Okay. Well, that will conclude this edition of the Podcast of Champions. We hope you have enjoyed our discussion today. If you did, help us out. Like and share this video. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Join our forum. You can find a link to register in the description below this video. Check out episode 8 of the Star Trek project that we just dropped as well. Soon we will start a review series for the Rings of Power Season 2 and Agatha All Along. But that will be a few weeks. We will see you at the end of August. Of course, we also will drop a brand new podcast at some point as well. But for now, I want to thank you all also on behalf of our champions and wish you to be safe and be well.